Hey, Skol, Minnesota Vikings fans. Welcome to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by Mr. Adam Carlson.
Heyo.
Adam, it's good to have you on the show, as always.
Hopefully we can get Mr. Smith back next week, but we'll hold down things here without him today.
Yeah, he thinks he has to do this thing called being with his family. Uh, no, seriously. It's Thanksgiving time coming up, so we should all be thankful for being able to spend time with our family around the holidays and all that stuff too. So you're right, we'll have Mr. Smith back with us here next week, we hope, but we will hold down the fort until then.
I know he's the usual eye candy, but let's just look at us for now.
Well, you don't have to look at us. You can look at the fancy background that we got going on here because I figured out, hey, we can have an animated background.
Ooh.
hmm So we did not really promote this show too far in advance, so I'm going to stall for a minute before we get into the game. Hopefully, if you are following us out there on Facebook and uh,
Oh,
YouTube,
looks like the
you
YouTube
have,
notifications are working. We got Andrew in here.
yes, we do. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Skol.
It would be real easy to sit here and talk about how that game was so disappointing and Minnesota shot themselves in the foot, but for a Minnesota team that was on a 5-game winning streak and, just made too many mistakes to overcome, sitting here and being too mad about that game doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a Minnesota Vikings team without Justin Jefferson, without Kirk Cousins on a quarterback. I mean, we're not even talking about the backup quarterback. We're talking about a guy who just got here, and I like Josh Dobbs, and he's playing, I think, pretty good football for the team overall. But yeah, I mean, losing by 1 point to Denver, who's on a bit of a hot streak. Say what you will about Russell Wilson and how he's been playing. He's been on a bit of
Mr.
a hot
Unlimited.
yeah, let Russ cook. No, he's been on a bit of a hot streak here lately too, and he is a Hall of Fame bound quarterback. So I'm not too worked up over it.
No, not at all. Especially considering Minnesota still has, a 2-game lead on any other team outside the playoff bubble right now?
Yeah, I think so. Sergio says, "Oh no, we suck again."
Yeah, it's hard to win games when you turn the ball over so much. I believe at Kevin O'Connell's conference today, he said that he is actually undefeated as the Vikings head coach when they win the turnover battle.
That's one of those made up Fox statistics where it's like, hey, this team is such and such since 2014. Oh, so we're cherry picking data now.
Well, you got to make him sound good, like it's not his fault.
Right, right.
For him, that's a great stat.
I mean, yeah, you can't turn over the football. That's something that the Vikings have to continue to work on for the remainder of the season if they are being serious about making any kind of a wild card slash playoff push. Um, they have to not turn over the football.
Yeah, it's been kind of bad lately, and a lot of that has to do with the positive of having Josh Dobbs there to make more time and move around. That does increase the possibility that there will be a fumble on his part. But we
hmm
also saw Alexander Madison make some mistakes here and put the ball on the ground and give the Broncos the ball in plus territory for them. So, I mean, that's not good.
Madison, I feel like almost has to be a universal donkey for this week for most Vikings fans out there. His play has been frustrating. Not the best vision we're seeing from him. He's not cutting at the appropriate times.
What was that
Uh,
stat I sent you guys? Like within the 10-yard line on 11 runs, he has negative 5 yards and 0 touchdowns.
yeah,
That's
yep,
not good.
yep. Alexander Madison's 11 runs inside the 10-yard line have netted 0 touchdowns and -5 yards.
Not great.
They really have to remedy that situation, and Josh Dobbs has been a bit of a band-aid for the past couple weeks because he's a nice mobile quarterback who can help inflate your overall run statistics. But I don't think you can rely on Josh Dobbs to 100% make up for your lack of run game. Uh, Madison absolutely has to be demoted. I don't know what they're waiting for. I don't know why he's continuing to get the bulk of the carries.
Yeah, that dynamic there needs to shift big time. I mean, even if it's just a difference between, Chandler getting a few more carries here and, Madison and them being an equal split. I mean, but something does need to change there because this is not effective.
No, it's really not. Uh, and so we got the Chicago game coming up and then the bye week. Do you think that maybe they will potentially look at making more of a drastic change at the running back position during the bye?
I don't see any changes happening except for trying to get players healthy. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. I don't see a run game difference coming in. Maybe they'll try to do something with the line and the blocking and all that, but I don't think there's going to be a big shift as far as the pecking order there for the running backs.
Yeah, and I also don't think, for as much as we talk about what they need to do and move on from Madison, and they don't have a very obvious replacement for him currently on the roster. We like Ty Chandler. I think that we all want to see more carries from him. But if he would have been the guy, he probably he would have been given that opportunity earlier in the season during training camp and whatnot.
Sorry, I got a visitor here that's bumping everything.
I agree with Sergio. That's a good comment. That's how I've been approaching this season. He wrote up on here that's the first year he's been watching the game and not yelling at my TV because I don't know what to expect. I've been a lot more relaxed with this year as well too. It's made games, I think, a lot more fun to watch because knowing that Kirk is down, uh, we were expecting this to be a bit of a rebuild season anyway. At least I was.
Yeah, I'm
So
going into a lot of these games with zero expectations with
yeah,
Kirk out and
yeah.
Justin Jefferson out right now. There's no reason to think this team's going to win anything, and they're still doing all right. But we do need to talk about how I have not been swearing the name constantly of the Vikings defense, which had been a big thing from last year, is that we were always talking about it. Sure, Minnesota's given up some third down and long opportunities, but for the most part, they're keeping the opponent's team's score low enough that the Vikings should be able to keep pace.
Yeah, it's interesting. The script kind of flipped a little bit where it's like the Vikings defense was holding their own
Yeah.
against Denver for the most part, and if anything, it was kind of the offense that kind of sputtered there in the second quarter, and may have cost us the game a little bit on costly turnovers and
Yeah,
such.
on that one Broncos touchdown, I can't really blame Mekhi Blackman because when the receiver is 6 inches taller than you, it's just a throw up in the air. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, remember back when we everyone else used to crap on Josh Robinson because oh my God, he gave up a touchdown or he gave up a long play to Calvin Johnson,
Right.
and you and I would sit here and be like, yeah, it's Calvin Johnson is twice the size of Josh Robinson, and he should have never been put in situations to like one-on-one
Correct.
cover Megatron anywhere on the field, let alone in the red zone. So yeah, I totally get it.
I was so concerned about the cornerback position coming in, but without a Caleb Evans last week, that was a little rough. But when he comes back, I am not as worried about the corner situation as I thought I would be. These guys are doing a decent job holding down ship, and the Vikings are getting pressure at the point on the quarterback, and I am not as worried about that whole situation at all as I probably should have been.
Charlotte, we thank you. I didn't forget about you. I've had your comment up on the screen. Thank you for joining us. That's why everyone should like and subscribe on YouTube. You can get those notifications for when we go up live each and every week. And yes, Adam, if you remember back to the off season, I was kind of pounding my fist on the table for being like, if I had to guess, I'm going to say we're going to be talking about another first round corner for what the Vikings are going to have to do in the draft in 2024.
I
And
was shocked Patrick Peterson didn't come back, but he has been a shell of himself for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he really has been. They made the right choice on moving on from him. But you're right. Right now, I am not sitting here still pounding my fist going, you have to draft a corner in the first round, because I thought that was going to be a glaring error for this team. And they've held
For
up. They've held up
2024, I
pretty
know we're going
well.
to be talking about that a lot coming up, but it's going to be a lot of talk about quarterbacks and edge rushers. What's it going to be?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think the edge rusher position is, if you're not going with a quarterback early in the draft, trading up and making that big splash, it's edge rusher, because I don't know who your edge rushers are after this year. I don't think you can count on Danielle Hunter remaining a Viking. I think that he's
Are we looking at
playing.
Wanham and Jones, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. But I mean, Hunter is playing extraordinarily well this
Oh, yeah.
year for Minnesota. He's going to command a big time contract, I think, in free agency,
Oh, yeah, he's going to get
and
paid.
he deserves it. And I just don't know if Minnesota is going to be willing to commit to him. That's what Andrew says. Free agent edge rushers are overpriced right now.
I mean, look what Marcus Davenport got.
Yeah. Think Marcus Davenport's going to be back?
Not at 13 million.
No, you'd have to take a hell of a discount, I think, to stick around.
I believe he is eligible to return from IR as well, but just hasn't been any news about him. And I haven't heard anybody ask about him either. So who knows?
Charlotte, you can tell John that if he's making cheesecake, I will take some cheesecake. Adam, you want some cheesecake?
Are we talking plain cheesecake? What do we got in that thing? Some chocolate? Some raspberry? What are we talking?
Strawberry? Strawberry cheesecake is tough to beat.
It's okay.
Just okay.
It's all right.
What's everyone's boldest take on cheesecake? Let us know in the chat.
But yeah, tomorrow we got a nice full slate of football to watch. No Vikings this year, which I don't like when the Vikings play on Thanksgiving. I've never liked it. I don't want it.
Really? Too stressful?
I want to enjoy that time with my family. I don't want to be worried about gluing myself to the TV.
Yeah, anytime the Vikings play on a holiday, you always risk that, that chance that they're just going to ruin it for you by doing something.
Yeah, there was one year
stupid.
there where they had the Vikings game on Thanksgiving and on Christmas Eve, and it was like, no.
Andrew says, I go for cherry cheesecake.
That's a good one.
The cherry cheesecake is a little underrated. Everyone always goes for strawberry or chocolate.
I'm not a strawberry guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to turn it down, but it's not going to be high on my priority list.
So we've seen Josh Dobbs, and this is kind of a little bit like what we had talked about in a previous episode, where, and I know Smith would agree with us if he was here right now, where you have to average out what you think of a player, and you can't just go by, the excellent games that he had. And he didn't play terribly, but he had a little bit of a come back down to earth game for the Vikings. You can see the reason why he's bounced around the league a little bit, because his upside is tremendous. If you can get him playing well, like good football, like he can be a threat out there at quarterback. The issues with him seem to be there's a little bit of accuracy. He throws balls a little high every now and then, and he does have issues with ball security that are going to hit him every now and then. And so that's your give and take a little bit with Josh Dobbs.
Well, I also kind of want to talk a little bit about the hype train for Josh Dobbs. Got a little insane there for about a week. It was everywhere. And I like the kid. I do. I say kid because I'm an old man.
He's younger than us, so he's a kid. That's what I do at work too.
But I mean, yeah, he offers some exciting things to a Minnesota Vikings offense. But for now, I mean, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah, the Vikings are winning some games with him, but I mean, let's be realistic here. Minnesota they're a decent team. They got a lot of talented players, but I don't know if Josh Dobbs is going to be the guy that makes this team the national darlings. Even though he has.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I mean, I agree with Charlotte. Yeah, the hype is still there. Like, we're not like I'm excited for Josh Dobbs. Like we've said numerous times on this podcast, a really good scenario for the Vikings in 2024 is you find a way to keep Josh Dobbs on a reasonable contract and one of our guys at a backup, and you draft a rookie quarterback and you let those guys kind of go into training camp and preseason and see what you got. Like that would be an all right quarterback situation for
Yeah.
the Vikings to have. Like I've said, and we've kind of tried to stress, Dobbs has bounced around the league for a reason, and so I don't necessarily know if you want to. Oh my God, he played 3 outstanding games for the Vikings. Let's give him an insane contract and lock him up long term. That's a very reactionary, I think, kind of short-sighted way of doing that. Uh,
I mean,
you
there
you
could be a
have to
team that
let the
possibly looks
season.
at him this offseason after what he's done in Minnesota and just thinks, okay, let's give him a real chance and overpays him to be a quarterback one. It could happen.
Mhm.
But I really hope that team isn't Minnesota because they really need to think long term on this one before they make their decision, which is going to be a tough one this offseason.
And I agree, Charlotte. I am seeing the improvement from him as well too. And you are seeing that, like, hey, as he's gets more comfortable in the offense, it allows you to open the playbook up if you're Kevin O'Connell, and you can run some different kinds of plays because he has a different skill set, being more mobile than what you've got with Kirk Cousins. I like the way they've mixed in a little bit of the wildcat and a little bit of the interesting shifts that you can do with him. If it's not Dobbs, I'm pretty convinced that the style of quarterback that Kevin O'Connell wants to bring in is going to be your mobile quarterback, like Josh Dobbs. That seems to be what they want to go for.
Yeah, they want someone who can extend some plays and make things a little easier in the pocket, and Dobbs could be that guy. Although the old school idea of being a pocket passer and just executing it would be nice too. I mean, and familiar. It's not really exactly what the league is going for these days.
Sergio says, I'm excited Dobbs isn't being the next Case Keenum because I don't want a QB controversy. I still want Kirk Cousins back. And Sergio, I still think there is a scenario in which Kirk Cousins is the Vikings starting quarterback in 2024 as well, too.
Yeah, but Kirk definitely is not going to Aaron Rodgers it this season and come back from his Achilles. That ain't going to happen.
Do you really think Rodgers is going to come back?
I think it's possible.
You think he's going to come back and 4 plays into it, get hurt even worse because
No,
you
that is very possible too.
I just don't know about that.
Even if he can come back, I'm not 100% sure it's a great idea for him.
I wouldn't come back to that Jets team the way they're playing right now. I mean,
Who are they starting? Brian Brom?
I don't know. What is it? The Giants got, what is it? Tommy DeVito out there at quarterback.
Tommy DeVito.
It's amazing how many backups are playing in the
I
league
hate
right
they
now.
took the Ben DiNucci meme and just inserted the new guy for the Giants in there, Mr. DeVito.
DeVito, yeah.
But at least Minnesota doesn't have that going on, although there are quite a few Vikings fans who want to see Jaron Hall take back over the starting job when he returns and is healthy. But I'm not 100% sure that might be the good idea either. Because I like what I saw from Jaron Hall in college, but at the pro level, when he's had opportunities, he just hasn't looked ready.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of him to really be able to say one way or another what I think of him. Uh, Josh Dobbs has clearly shown to me that the remainder of the season is his to go out there and continue to prove himself and get his own game tape out on the field and show what he can do. Because he's definitely a player that, if he's not your QB1, he's your QB1B. Like I said, if you're bringing in a rookie
Yeah.
quarterback, that's a good. Hey, he can help mentor and he can push and he can be your kind of fringe starter. If you go into one of these scenarios where Josh Dobbs is your starting quarterback for the first 5 or 6 games of 2024, and then you turn it over to your rookie eventually after that, or maybe you get another full season out of him. I don't think that is the worst scenario in the world for the Vikings.
No.
Quarterback is the most important position on the field, and so you definitely want to have as much talent as possible out there.
No, I don't think quarterback was a major issue in this game on Sunday night. Although Dobbs did fumble several times, and he does need to work on that ball security.
Yep.
There are plays that he made that I don't think any other quarterback on the Vikings roster could have made. And that's using his feet or his arms. He is a quarterback that can do both, and it's been nice to see him come in and do that. And that battle between him and Justin Fields on Monday Night Football is going to be kind of interesting to watch.
Yeah, we got Chicago coming up on Monday Night Football. I believe is it in Chicago?
I know this one is in Minnesota.
It's a home game for the Vikings. All right.
Because they will be wearing their
Oh, that's
throwback.
right. We're wearing the throwback uniforms. I
Yep.
love when they pull the throwbacks out.
Those are a lot of fun. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sergio said that Dobbs and Addison need to work on some of their chemistry, and yeah, I can see that. That's going to happen a little bit when you bring in a quarterback.
Well,
This,
at least Dobbs and Addison appear to have some. Dobbs and Osborne look to have none.
yeah.
Because I don't even remember hearing his name on Sunday night.
Yeah, let me pull the stats up here and take a look. I had him up on my phone. Then it went to
Because
sleep.
Osborne was active after missing the previous weekend. The thought was that he could help the Vikings offense, but I believe once again TJ Hawkinson was among the leaders in targets. And Minnesota tried to run the ball a little bit more and found a little bit of success on the ground against the league's worst rush defense.
So TJ Hawkinson, 4 receptions for 55 yards. Josh Oliver had himself a sneaky good game with four
Yeah, he did.
receptions for 47 yards. Like seeing that as well too. Then next was Addison with 44.
Because I want to
KJ
say wide
Os
receivers in general combined for less than 100 receiving yards, and that's not great.
yeah, KJ Osborne is all the way down here with 1 reception, a single reception for 7 yards, Adam.
Oh, all right.
And of the group, Josh Oliver, the only one with a receiving touchdown.
He also caught every target that came his way, which was pretty sweet. Not bad for a blocking tight end.
Yeah, it's pretty good when you can get that kind of production out of him.
But we knew coming in that the defense was going to cue in on trying to take away TJ Hawkinson. It's been obvious that Dobbs loved throwing him the ball, and Denver did a good job of taking that away. Even though Hawkinson still led the team in receiving yards, I think.
Yep, he sure did. 4 for 55 yards. Yeah, you're right. That's the big security blanket. It reminds me a little bit of when Christian Ponder was new to the team, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but Ponder always had really good chemistry with Kyle Rudolph, where it was like no matter what's going on the field, you could always fit a pass in to Kyle Rudolph. He was such a big, reliable target, and that's what TJ Hawkinson is for this current team. Probably with a more of an ability to make up yards after the catch with Hawkinson than what you got out of Rudolph. But he's a nice big security blanket for whoever the starting quarterback is for the Vikings.
Oh, absolutely. We're gonna have to wait and see how this Vikings team can respond to this loss because right now, although they're not looking bad in the NFC picture, in the division things are looking a little rough. Green Bay's getting a couple wins here that they should not have beaten the Chargers, and the Lions looked like they were going to fall to the Bears last week, and that
Yeah,
ended up being a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. So Minnesota will need to win some games and close in a little bit on the Bears or on the Lions if they want a chance at this division.
yeah, definitely. The Lions are. I don't even think you can say sneaky good this season. Like Detroit is just actually a good football team, which might be the first time in forever that I've made that statement.
They got bad Jared Goff for 3 quarters, and the good one came in for the fourth, and just it was all over.
Yeah, it's all about getting hot at the right time. And yeah, like you said, sometimes you can play three bad quarters of football, but if you can pull it in the fourth, that's all that matters.
So you got a game ball you want to give away for this game?
Um, I really didn't have one because it's been so long now. I half forgot.
In my takeaways, I believe I gave a really big shout out to Josh Oliver, so I might as well give him my game ball.
Yeah, that seems really good. Like I said, it was a sneaky good game for Josh Oliver. Like you said, you're primarily your blocking tight end anytime you can get him out there catching, the 47 yards and a touchdown is some pretty decent production out of him.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you look at the pecking order for wide receivers, and okay, Justin Jefferson's out. Uh, Addison is struggling to connect with Dobbs, and Osborne just isn't getting it done. Hawkinson is good, but they're working hard to take him away. So where do you go? We've seen Brandon Powell kind of show up at times too, and nice to see
Yeah,
him do his thing.
yeah, he had himself a nice round little 32 yards out there. I like seeing that from him.
Yeah, we can have a guy that can come in and be a wide receiver 4 or 5, as well as contribute as a punt returner. Can't ask for too much more there.
Andrew's going to give a game ball to our D line for limiting the run. There you
Speaking of
go.
the D line, Dean Lowry had a torn shoulder muscle and will be placed on injured reserve.
Who do you think they're going to replace him with?
Probably Tonga.
Yeah.
Get some meat out there.
I keep wondering if Anthony Barr is actually going to play for the Vikings this season. We know they signed him and he's out on the practice squad. Do you think he makes a call up at some point?
I wasn't he activated for this game but didn't play?
I'm not sure, Adam.
Because I'm not really sure where Barr would fit, even if they wanted to play him. Is he still going to be used in edge rushing situations, or are they moving him inside, or what's the plan here?
I'm just guessing, but I would assume that you're going to use him as primarily a pass rusher, right?
I don't know. They must have had some idea when they signed him because they brought him in when Hicks went down, and him and Hicks don't really do the same things. So,
Yeah, that was not a interchangeable piece that you were we're gonna take Hicks out and insert Anthony Barr and get the
but
same kind
Ivan
of
Pace stepped
production.
up in place of Hicks. So, I mean, good
Yeah.
on him. That rookie's been quite good.
Kind of makes me wonder if they brought Barr in to lean a little bit just on having a veteran in that locker
Possibly.
room. He's a guy that we know he's close with Harrison Smith and some of the other longer tenured
Because otherwise, a lot
Vikings.
of the guys at linebacker are really young.
Right, and so just having a guy who's been in the league for a number of years is a positive to have in the locker
I
room.
still don't think I've seen a picture of Barr in the 54 jersey. That's going to look weird to me.
I think you can see one up on the Vikings website. I think they had like a practice
But
photo of
another
him.
thing that looks weird for Anthony Barr is Is Anthony Barr made out of Subway sandwich makings?
I forgot about that.
Oh
The
boy,
Subway head Anthony Barr. Let's that was weird.
scary.
That was definitely scary.
But
And you
yeah,
said you can
but
also
we
give
aren't
a
talking
game
too
ball
much about this
to.
Denver game because honestly, like I said before at the very start of the show, I'd love to sit here and nitpick everything, but this is a team on a 5-game winning streak that was without Justin Jefferson and had to deal with the loss of Kirk Cousins. So, I mean, honestly, anything right now is kind of a bonus. Is that a
Eh,
good way of looking at
yeah,
it?
I agree with you, Adam. It's just this whole season to me has been about rebuilding for 2024, and you're able to do it in a way where, hey, we're 6-5 right now, and you can sniff a wild card push, and it's always fun that you can win while you're rebuilding. But
Right.
it's just I'm not as angry over the losses as what I would be if it felt like we're in our window of opportunity and the window is closing and we have to get it done now. You're setting yourself up for the future.
But would you be more mad if this team wasn't in the playoff picture right now and they're like a 4-win team?
It would be frustrating, but it would be a different kind of frustrating.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, because right now with Minnesota actually winning some games and having moved on from some of their higher priced older veteran players that were
right.
around from the Rick Spielman era, Minnesota is trying to make its own identity right now with the GM and the head coach, and it's a transition, and this transition period is still going fairly well.
Sergio with another great comment. That's why it's hard to be so excited for these games. It's hard to expect what's going to happen or even what expectations for this team. And for me, when I watch these games, I'm looking for look at the improvements on the offensive line. They're
Right.
playing really well. Look at players like Ivan Pace, who's playing really well. The improvements on defense, Jordan Addison. Hey, there's a home run hit of a draft pick right there for the Vikings. And like Josh Dobbs, the jury is out on where he fits in with the team long term, but he's making a case for himself to be on the roster moving forward. And so
Josh
those are
Dobbs has been making these games kind of fun. I
he
don't want to
has
say
been.
interesting or great or competitive, but I'll say they've been more fun to watch with him.
How many years has Kirk been our starting quarterback now?
5 or 6, maybe. I'm
5 or
not
6.
sure.
So 5, 6 years when in there, you kind of know what a Kirk Cousins led offense is going to look like.
Yeah.
We know what Kirk's going to do, and it's exciting because Josh Dobbs is completely different skill set wise from Kirk, and so we're seeing a little bit of wildcat, and we're seeing plays where Kirk would have got sacked that Dobbs is able to squirm around in the pocket and throw a ball up and make a play, and there's a little bit more excitement out of it. And Kirk is a very methodical quarterback, and Dobbs is a little more backyard football, and that makes it a little bit more fun to watch.
I get a little scared every time Dobbs does that weird like spin move where he puts his back to the rest of the field and when he spins away and goes over to the other side of the field. That's kind of scary.
Do you think teams are going to start spying on Dobbs, like looking in his bedroom window at home, spying,
I don't think
or
he's that much of a threat as a runner that I don't that they're going to devote that until he starts having like 100-yard rushing games. I don't think they're going to cue in on that.
he's not Michael Vick, he's not Lamar Jackson, so I don't know if you're going to dedicate someone to him all the time. Uh,
Although I could see a team playing the line of scrimmage closer and trying to force him to win games with his arms instead of his legs. I can see that.
like the Harry Potter reference, just give him a sock and set him free.
Okay, so that's why I don't get it. All right.
Yeah, it's a Harry Potter thing.
You kids and your Harry Potter.
Oh, it's hard to believe Kirk has been a starting quarterback since 2018.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I just did a mock draft roundup over for the Viking Age, and it seems like a lot of experts really believe that the Vikings are going to go quarterback in the first round, and if they can't bring back Cousins and they don't want to go that route, grabbing a rookie is probably going to be the move. Either that or an edge rusher, like I said. Those are going to be the two moves, and the most commonly mocked quarterback to Minnesota at the moment is the quarterback from Michigan. So, I mean, who knows? Minnesota's going to miss out on the guys at the top of the draft unless they really give up a lot of capital to move up, and I don't know if that's going to be something they're willing to do. John says Dobbs a throwback to the T-Jack era.
I think that's Fran Tarkenton.
Oh.
You had the wrong T. Now you know what though? There are plays, and I by no means am I saying that this is his entire all that he's going to turn out to be this kind of player for his entire career. There are shades of young Russell Wilson in Josh Dobbs. There's a play every now and then where you see him scramble around and run around and make a throw where you're like, yeah, that reminds me of like old school Russell Wilson.
I can see that a little bit.
Yeah.
Just about as corny too. No, I won't. I won't say that.
Have you seen some of Josh Dobbs's TikToks and other?
I have. They're not as bad as some of the others that I've seen.
There's actually, did you see the one where he's like on his floor? He must have filmed it in reverse or something like that. He's like on his sitting on the floor and he'll do something and then he'll pretend like he's in an invisible car and he'll shift it and then you'll see him like zoom out of frame.
No.
And so he filmed it in reverse where he slid into frame and then did all the motions for it. But it's like, god damn, that's really hard to do. It's quite impressive. And the page that I seen this from on Facebook that reposted it wasn't even an NFL related page. It was just some other clickbait page, whatever, because
Yeah.
it took like 4 or 5 comments down for someone to say, "Is this Josh Dobbs?" Question mark.
Yeah, he is taking the fan base by storm a little bit, and it's fun to see him get a rise to popularity after bouncing around the league for a while. And what he was doing in Arizona is very similar to this, so it's a bit surprising that it took this long for something to catch on for him.
I'm excited to see what'll happen when Justin Jefferson gets back. If that will, if that will help elevate Dobbs to another level of having that security blanket.
Now, are you with me, Mr. Smith, that we neither of us are really expecting Jefferson to play on Monday night? Are you
He's
thinking
not.
he might suit up?
There is no. Did you see the quote that came out from him where he's talking about he don't care about your fantasy football?
Oh yeah, I
He's
wrote an
coming.
article about that over on the Viking Age.
He's coming back when he's healthy. He is not playing on Monday Night Football. He's gonna come if he comes back. It's gonna be after the bye week.
And I think that would be the smarter way to do it. If he's not, if it's questionable as to whether or not he'll be ready to go, don't play.
You don't risk his any kind of long term health with Justin Jefferson by
No, I'm
rushing
not going
him
to doubt
back.
that he wants to play.
Of course, he wants to play.
Because as you've seen that like you were talking about his post on X there, him saying that he's been getting all those DMs about people mad about him tanking their fantasy teams, and he's just like, my health is more important,
Yeah.
and it is. And what gives people the gall to message professional athletes and other people and be like, hey, you're messing up my fantasy league, get to work.
Yeah, like why would Justin Jefferson care about your fantasy football team?
I mean, what's he gonna do? Like suit up when he's injured and be like, okay, I got to do this for little Timmy's fantasy team.
Yeah, I don't know. There are times that I sit here and think that, boy,
People can
between
be
the
real stupid.
yeah, and between the combination of fantasy football and sports betting, boy, it's really ruined a lot of people's ability to just sit down and enjoy a football game.
It's true.
Can't you just sit down and be like, "Hey, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, and this is a good game between the Vikings and whoever we're playing." And like, you don't have to bet on it. You don't gotta be mad about your fantasy football. That's a pet peeve of mine because I've had coworkers who have done that too. Be like, "Oh, I'm a real big Minnesota Vikings fan, and but we're playing I whoever, and I have their starting running back in fantasy football. So
Right.
I want the Vikings to win, but I want the running back that's playing against us to score a bunch of points." No, no.
It's like how, you watch the game on Sunday and you're like, the Vikings lost. Well, and then you got the people like, yeah, the Vikings covered the spread. What?
I don't care. I don't care about the spread. I want the team to win.
And I'm one of those that actually like sportsbook betting once in a while, but I also go into like fantasy football drafts and stuff like that. I usually don't pick Minnesota Vikings players.
That means you're a smart better.
And it's not that I don't think guys like Justin Jefferson or Kirk Cousins can put up points when they're healthy. It's just that I want to enjoy the Vikings games for what they are. I don't want to watch them for, that fantasy football purpose.
Andrew says there's a lot more A-plus players getting injured this year, but maybe that's just us. There's been an issue around the league with a lot of players getting hurt, and one of the rumors is that they're going to be looking into something about these artificial turfs that they're playing on, making some kind of changes to those.
What do you think about the idea
Probably,
of the hip drop tackle changes?
I get it, but it's increasingly becoming more and more difficult for me to even understand how you make a legal
Yeah,
tackle.
they're making things so hard on defenses these days.
I know. And like that hit on Josh Dobbs, the helmet to helmet one that wasn't called. Uh, I get why you don't want that in the game, but for as fast as these two athletes are moving, it's so difficult. You're
Right.
never going to get those 100% out of the game.
And you can be going to tackle someone by the chest or by the waist, and then the ball carrier leans ahead, and you're like, oh crap.
And now all of a sudden, it's helmet to helmet.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. So I understand why they want to take that style of tackle out of the game, but it's I feel like we're reaching that point where we're really micromanaging when and how you can tackle, and it's going to start you're going to start causing plays where players are going to hesitate.
Yeah.
They're going to hesitate, and then it's going to go for longer yards because
Absolutely.
and maybe that's what they want because hashtag sports betting. I don't know. Hey, Jonathan. I don't play fantasy football because it ruins games, in my opinion. The game isn't all about stats. You lose game strategy and excitement because of fantasy. Yeah, I know what you mean on that too. I want to sit down and enjoy a football game and not feel like you have to, oh, I got to be angry because I didn't flex the right player in or out.
But I'm sure he's not talking about the Purple People podcast Yahoo Survival League, which is fantastic, even though I am out this week.
Andrew says, "Don't burn the cheesecake. Well, make sure you take it out of the oven."
Wait a minute, cheesecake don't go in the oven. Why is your cheesecake going in the oven?
I've never made cheesecake. I have no idea how you make cheesecake.
Yeah, it don't go in the oven.
Does it not go in the? I have no
No,
idea.
you just put it in the fridge to set.
Well, I'm gonna give a donkey to both Andrew and I for thinking that it went in the oven.
Maybe there are some. I've seen baked cheesecake recipes, but I've always done no bake. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they're fancier chefs than I am. I've always no baked.
we're we're team never made cheesecake.
But yeah, Minnesota's gonna have a real challenge on Monday night when it comes to trying to figure out what to do with uh, a Bears team that is actually, I think, a little bit better than their record says, because they do have quite a bit of talent, and uh, Justin Fields can be a lot slipperier than people think, and Minnesota's done a good job of tackling and keeping the game in front of them, and that's going to be an absolute key on Monday night.
Minnesota has always struggled with a running quarterback.
They
It
have.
doesn't matter if the running quarterback is on a bad team or a bad running quarterback in the case of
Right.
probably Justin Fields. We always struggle against them, no matter how good our season is going. I believe in Brian Flores and his ability to scheme and shut down opposing quarterbacks, especially when we're talking about Justin Fields. You know, not to completely knock him, but I mean it's Justin Fields, not Lamar Jackson. Like I think we'll be fine with that.
But this will be a much more important game than the one against Denver, because this is not only a conference game but a division game. So you are
Yep.
going to want this one more than the Denver one. And I'm not saying, like, the Vikings win the game against Denver 70% are going to go in against the Bears at 90%. That's not really the way it goes.
I do think they'll pick up the victory. I think they can beat Chicago.
Well, I think Minnesota, for this game, they were underdogs 1.5 to Denver, and I think they're actually favored in this game. Maybe it's just because of the home field advantage. I'm not sure.
Home field advantage. Maybe Justin Jefferson, even though we're not thinking that. I can see some of the other analysts thinking, well, maybe if he comes back.
Yeah, Flores is going to be a big question mark, because I can see teams at least wanting to interview him for head coaching positions after this year, and he could take one of those.
He will definitely be interviewed. I do think that how it ended for him in Miami will influence the
Yeah.
kind of situation that he's willing to step into. I don't foresee him, hey, I was interviewed by 3 teams and only one team actually gave me a serious offer, so I'm going to jump on it and take it. If it's not a good fit, he will be back in Minnesota, I believe. I mean, do you see him going to
When he gave his
Oakland?
presser on Monday night, or on Monday, and yesterday, he sounded like a guy who wanted to stick around, really enjoyed this team and the players. So I'm
I
hoping
hope
that
so.
could factor into what's going on with his decision maybe after this season.
Well, and it seems to me that Kevin O'Connell appears to just let him run the defense entirely. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I want to run a 3-4 and I want you to be aggressive. And
Do you
other than
not
that,
like that he shares his nickname with the insurance lady from Progressive? Poor Flo.
yeah, beef low. But that so it has to be a nice situation for him to be in where it's like I can run this side of the ball however I want to. And he seems to have the ability to bring in the players that he wants to.
Yeah, he's been a real asset this year, and we can have some arguments about whether or not the play calling for the offense was good against Denver or not, and I've seen both sides of that. But honestly, I like that Minnesota's doing what they can with what they have and the limited time they've had with Dobbs and him getting to know his teammates and everything. I don't think the playbook is opened up for him yet, but hopefully as time goes on, things can get figured out, because I know a lot of people do sound like they want Jaron Hall back when he's healthy, but Dobbs, if he can continue to pick up and learn this offense, I don't see a reason to move away from him.
Yeah, the remainder of this year, in my opinion, really has to be on seeing what you have in Josh Dobbs, because you have Hall for what, another 4 or 5 years based on his contract.
Yeah,
Uh,
2 more years at least.
yeah, so you have him. There's no need to rush that. Dobbs, you've only got for the remainder of this year, I'm assuming. He's a free agent.
Right.
So you really have to figure out what your plan is with him moving forward and what your plan is with the entire quarterback position. Because, folks, if you decide to keep Kirk Cousins and you go down the Kirk Cousins route, I don't think you're keeping Josh Dobbs, because some other team will look at this stretch of games with Minnesota and they will covet that and they will go, well, we're bringing in a rookie quarterback and we want Dobbs in there because we can win with him now and he can help groom the rookie quarterback. Uh,
Right.
so it's there's a lot of moving pieces and parts in the quarterback position for the Vikings right now, I think.
Yeah, it could be one or the other when it comes to Cousins or Dobbs, and a young quarterback. Nick Mullins right now, you're not hearing much about at all. He just returned to the team, being activated off
Yeah.
IR. So I think Mullins is like one of those backups that, yeah, he's a solid backup, but he's not going to create any controversy, which is probably a good thing.
It's funny because that's been exactly, no matter who the head coach is, no matter who the offensive coordinator is for this team, that's exactly the backup quarterback that you have to have with Kirk Cousins. Kirk has to be your number one starter and no hint of competition below him.
Yeah, that has been the case. I don't know if it was the way they planned it, but it's definitely been the case.
I don't know if I'm reading too much into that or if that's just because you have so much money invested in his contract that it doesn't really allow you to have much wiggle room below him, but it sure looks to be that way.
Yeah, so we're going to be back next week and we'll be talking about the game of the Chicago Bears, which is on Monday Night Football. So the show might be a little bit more towards the middle of the week. Maybe another Wednesday show or Tuesday or
Yeah,
something
probably
like that.
Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll see what our schedules look like. But
And then the week after that is a bye. So remember though, the Purple People podcast, we don't take bye weeks.
we don't, unless we do.
We don't have an off season either. We just keep trucking. And we don't go every day like some other shows with multiple shows a day. We go once a week. So when we do a show and you guys make it a point to show up and chat, it means a lot to us. We love
We
that.
appreciate all of you. We've had a lot of good interaction today as well, too, which we always appreciate.
Oh, absolutely.
We would not have been talking about cheesecake if it wasn't for Charlotte and Andrew and everyone else in the chat, and that's what makes the show fun.
I see we are still. Oh wait, we have 2 rankings now on Spotify. We have 2 5-star ratings.
Hey-o, awesome.
That's pretty exciting. Because before we had none, so hopefully that'll get a little bit more traffic over to Spotify and let people know that we're there when they search for Minnesota Vikings. And we also are anywhere else that you can pretty much imagine podcasts to be, whether it's Google, iTunes, or whatever. We're there.
Yep.
And we've been there for a while. YouTube Live is fun and you can get the whole catalog there, but we do try to make it a point to be available to Vikings fans almost anywhere that want to hear us talk about Vikings football for some reason. Because
Yeah.
we are just people sitting and talking about football. We don't have inside information. We don't, have these special technical insights. We don't have degrees in footballology, if that's a course you can take in college. I don't know.
It is now.
Oh, Jonathan says he's one of those Spotify reviews, so
Appreciate
much
it, Jonathan.
appreciated.
Like
Yeah,
we
if you
say
can
every week.
like our show and subscribe and tell your friends so they'll show up if they're Vikings fans, or even if they're not Vikings fans, get them in here and we'll talk football in general too. And we don't always stick right to the Vikings. We can talk about how the Chargers are an organization that should be winning but aren't.
Yeah, over the years, we've periodically had a couple regulars that were fans of other teams that would pop in and talk to us. For a while, we had an Eagles fan that
Right.
would stop in and chat with us. we had a mini feud with the Jacksonville Jaguars fan
We
base.
did.
That's been a few years ago, but that was entertaining, and I don't remember why.
Oh, it's because we were making fun of their quarterback they drafted.
Which can you narrow it down? Which one?
I
Blake
believe
Bortles?
the NFL wanted to convert him to running back.
Denard Robinson?
There we go.
Yeah, that was right. I liked Denard Robinson in college. Uh,
I
it's
didn't think he was an NFL quarterback, but
neither did the NFL. It's
I mean, I can see
difficult.
why people would get excited about him though, because he had stuff to offer.
Yeah, it's difficult when you're a really good athlete with no defined position. I know he played quarterback, but that's the problem when you transition to the NFL.
And that's
You
what
have
everybody
to,
felt about Joe Webb. One heck of an athlete, so athletic, he could do so much, but he couldn't. He's one of those guys that you could plug him in places and he could do okay, but he wasn't going to excel at any one spot.
Cordero Patterson.
He actually did all right when plugged in at running back, and if he
Yeah,
can get the ball in his hands in some space, he can make people miss and
yeah.
get yards. So
He's bounced around the league in a few different positions, but like you said, he's kind of found his footing a little bit at running back and kick return, punt return duties.
yeah,
Uh, didn't he weirdly play like corner or safety briefly for a couple plays a few years ago too?
if he did, I don't remember it.
I thought they had him. Someone out there has to know that in the chat. I thought they had him out there on defense for a couple plays just to see what the
With
hell would
his
happen.
speed, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, a lot of the players that play corner at the higher levels were receivers at lower levels. So I mean,
In high school or college or
definitely a
whatever. Yeah.
chance. But yeah, we'll be back next week, hopefully with Mr. Smith, and we'll be a little bit more focused. I know Mr. West and I kind of went off on a lot of tangents on this
Ah, it's
episode,
okay. Tangents are
and
fun. We like tangents.
we also like cheesecake.
We do.
So send us your cheesecake, and we will eat it. Well, we can't guarantee that. We'll test it first.
Yeah.
Then we'll eat it, maybe, possibly. But yeah, we'll be back next week. Check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, and as always, stay classy, Minnesota.